Hello, and welcome to Unscheduled Flights, exploring the realms of inspiration, innovation, and creativity. I'm your host, Ambika Waters, and I welcome you to this podcast and hope you find it as interesting as I do. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unscheduled Flights. I'm Ambika Waters, your host, and today I'm honored to share a friend of mine, a brilliant homeopath, a lovely human being. And I'd like you to meet Jan Yamamoto Skroken OUADFELE, who is a homeopath and a PhD pharmacologist and a mystic. She brings the right and left hemispheres of the brain together in what we call visionary thinking. Hello, Jan. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Ambika. I'm very honored.
I'm honored to have you on the show and to introduce you to this audience, which seems to really enjoy hearing what homeopaths have to say. Jan how long have you been doing homeopathy now?
I started in 2014, but I graduated in 2017, and but practicing since 2014 through training in school, and probably living homeopathically in the collective for much longer prior. Yeah.
You were a pharmacologist before you went into homeopathy.
Yes, my original training, I'm a PharmD. So I'm a clinical pharmacist. And I had the privilege of getting exposed to a professor who did plant research when I was in school. And so from there, I realized different things about the power of nature. Yes.
And you also have a love of crystals, don't you?
I love crystals.
We do.
Discovered that in a time when I was differently free, a little orphaned after my second parent had passed, and stumbled upon a book and then said, why not? But I love crystals. I found a great affinity for them. And then I trained with Katrina Raphael and graduated from her program and was amazed that crystals appeared in homeopathy. And then that's what's like just drew me in. I couldn't believe it. It was just too good to be true.
We use gemstones and crystals and we make elixirs out of them. We turn them into remedies, and they have a great affinity for the subtle bodies, for the chakras. That's what I found, and I love I love taking my jewelry and putting it into water and letting it soak for long periods of time. But you have quite a collection of crystals, and your husband also works in the field of crystals, so you have a lot of exposure to them, and you've gifted me with many beautiful crystals that I really enjoy. So how do you put this all together? Um, if you could share that, I'd really appreciate it. I would like to say Jan has had some remarkable cases over the years that as a mentor and a teacher that I've been able to watch these cases, and you have such a unique way of seeing what needs healing. Can you share your vision with us as much as you can? And I may interrupt from time to time to ask a question. Thanks.
Absolutely. And it's probably also defining still in process. But well, first of all, I just want to thank you for being my witness, because you have also been a witness besides friend, mentor, practitioner to many catastrophic cases.
Yes,
And
traffic is a
yeah,
good word.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So that was,
these are not hangnail and hemorrhoid homeopathy cases. These are life and death cases. These are truly a couple truly catastrophic cases that I don't think these people would be walking on the planet without your assistance.
thank you. Thank you. I've got a lot of guides. Well, I think that at first in practice, I was unsure about cases and mixing things in, and trained in the classical way. However, the training was also very open-minded. When I did see, like, for example, the gemstones were remedies, and when I understood the imponderables were remedies, and things like color and sound, and then I just started to slowly infuse my wondering of like, I would take a case, see things, and then look at also the subtleties and the subtle energetic bodies in the person, whether it's present or past or however I was able to connect in with that person while also taking their case. Um, so it was actually what pushed me was probably the pandemic, where all of us were pressed. It was something new, not necessarily epidemics, but it was a new epidemic. And it also had a big influence with Western drugs, allopathic medication. There was a big imprint within that epidemic. And so, as all of us were learning on our feet, that's
Yes.
what pushed me to learn on my feet about this is many angles here. And just as I would help people with a cancerous process, I understood you have to go from many different angles. And so the allopathic imprint was so heavy, I began to having to just step into the unknown and unsure, but going for it and putting together things both on the actual realm, the subtle realms. And then I started really to study the minutia, the biochemistry, in which I've had trainings, but also from my pharmacy background and my homeopathic background, trainings in biochemistry. And then also Tone Janssen does human chemistry. I do love the work of Peter Chappell with the resonance, and that fed into the crystal work and the other works of Qigong, toning, sounds, song. So I started just really looking at many different realms that weave into every one of us. And from there, I started just being guided for formulas, but also grounding it in the proving works I could find. And then also going on the limb of, okay, this is the biochemistry, this is the health, and then tuning in. Um, so it's a process of those wonderings and the soul level process. I found for me personally, there's a constitutional remedy for somebody, but also I have found in somebody a soul constitution, something that was much more hidden.
Yeah.
And from there, so these things unfolded. I started to learn through my cases. And with the catastrophic cases, it was pushed me to the, ultimate limits of the unknowns and had to step in. So in brief, that's some of how that came to be.
I call it soul psychology, to really understand the nature of the soul and what it wants and what it needs to express. That's something I just carry that through my work. And also to find that there are remedies that the soul soaks up like a sponge, it's just extraordinary. And it gives the person an opportunity to adapt at many levels. I think, we're trained to deal with physical pathology, and we've put a lot of weight on the emotions in homeopathy, which is what makes it unique from allopathy, I think. We look at the mental attitudes, but there is a soul psychology that I feel we're addressing now with the spiritual remedies that we've created in the illumination remedy class, and And more, there's this elevation, this ascension into higher levels of the spirit. But the soul, I think it just is asking me, please pay attention to me. So share more about some of your cases. I marvel at the results you've brought about quickly and very efficiently, and in some cases with severe emergency, severe life and death on the line emergency, and you've brought people back from the edge time and time again. And it's a level of professionalism that I rarely see it in my practice. I'm I'm not great with emergencies. It's not, never was. I'm deer in the headlights. It's help. I'm not bad at it, but I've been fortunate that I've never had the kind of cases you've had. So you have some level of preparation for it and some level of understanding and a tranquility about your very nature, that you don't get ruffled.
Mm.
You, that's part of you. Want to share a little bit about that and talk about those cases a little?
Sure. Well, let's see. I mean, I think that when those come, oftentimes it is the last resorts that many of us all hear anyway. But the immediacy is maybe also sandwiched in there because it's critical. So, case over the last couple of years was a lovely man who fell from a 10-foot height and basically cracked his head open and had multiple bodily injuries. Was almost considered to be hopeless case of possible brain dead by the neurologist and the neurosurgeons at a very reputable, great hospital. So within about 48 to 72 hours, they felt that he was not having the kind of responses and that he likely would be brain dead, and that advised the spouse to consider other, preparing.
Yeah.
He was a client already, helped take care of his family. And so we did the immediate triage homeopathically for severe brain injuries, internal bleeding, all kinds of things. There was broken bones, and he was not conscious. Later, he had severe sepsis as well.
And
Um,
pneumonia too.
and pneumonia, yes. And so what happened was that I would get the symptoms from the spouse. We would be talking multiple times a day in this case because it was so critical. And the remedies would be changing perhaps every 3 hours, 2 hours. It was just a fast changing thing in the critical care unit, as fast as they were changing IV drips and things to regulate blood pressure and everything they needed to do. When I got the symptoms and I took a little left turn, so the neurologist felt that the symptoms that the person was presenting were the ones that were hopeless and that the person would be brain dead. So on my research, to me, those symptoms were actually cries of help that were actually telling me that the body is fighting to survive, that that's the only expression the body can have, and it's actually trying to dig its way out in order to survive and to live. And so to me, those were actually good symptoms.
And that's a wonderful, let me just interrupt. That is a beautiful holistic way of understanding what a symptom is. It is the soul and the body saying, I need help here. And the only way I can show this to you is with this symptom. Instead of trying to suppress the symptom, it's like a language, and your job is to be able to read and understand that language. And that's a brilliance of homeopathy, to grasp what the vital force is expressing. But at the turnover, like every 3 hours, I mean, changing the remedies, I mean, wow, you
Yeah.
must have been dancing on your toes to, oh, wow, that was something. Go on, let's hear more, because it's quite a story. And this
Yeah.
person,
Go
yes,
ahead.
oh, you go ahead.
Well, so true. I always tell my clients I try to understand the language of nature in which they are speaking. And in this case, it was a challenge because this person was not conscious and he was on a breathing machine and just being kept alive by a machine. And so that obstacle in the sense was there that that part of the communication I didn't have. So I can only go by the observer who's very astute. Family uses homeopathy, thank God. And then they were learning along the way because I was also training them through my eyes to help me and, you know, everything. Um, so with nonverbal everything, I just took the very subtle, either grimaces and grunts, and started going from there to know that, okay, the person's fighting. From there, I kind of look back at their long family history, all the way back to the childhood that I got to learn about, and the traumas in the childhood, the struggles and the challenges in the adulthood, and then the patterns of, in this case, accidents, and a different kind of spontaneity, impulsiveness. So I got to see patterns. So we did, one of the things I think that helps in a lot of critical cases is that we did the remedies in solution and we put them on a Q-tip and could either wet the lips or the skin. And we did a lot of combos, but also I found that remedy chords, potency chords in solution really helped because once we started giving remedies, I could see subtle changes in the person, client, and then I knew that, okay, it was okay to put in potency chords in solution because his vital force is already telling me that he can sort it out. And so that's where I started using a lot of potency chords as well in very critical situations. And when there's a lot of allopathy involved. So when
And
there's medications and pain medications and IV drips going, I found that the potency chords also were able to discern and almost override because they have their own intelligence, but they could discern and navigate amongst all these allopathic medications. Um, and you know, still work, even though there was a lot of suppressive medication, but we were doing it without clobbering his vital force. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so that was really fun and exciting and challenging and thrilling and scary all at the same time to learn and do. And that I'm grateful for the trust of the family that they did it. And so we've got him slowly, he started to defy the neurologists. And one of the subtle symptoms I knew was that he also disliked one of the providers who is a little bit brazen and kind of loud and had an opinion that he was just not going anywhere in bad shape. Every time this particular provider would come in the room, the blood pressure would go up. Other things would react in the subtle realms of this client. So, you know, I got to see some behavioral things that were nonverbal.
interesting, huh?
It was
Interesting.
very interesting, yes. And then we took him through waking up with the remedies. We took him through getting through the sepsis, took him through getting the intubation tube out and him breathing on his own,
That
and
was a
then the broken bones and eventually walking. And we took him through rehab after he left the hospital. And now he is actually and on, more simple rural roads, drives. He's present. He has his own activities. He's talking, walking, eating. All the body functions are completely there and
Brilliant.
working, and he's present. And if he overdoes it, we manage that overexertion because that does still can affect his brain. So we manage when he's overexerting, of all things, from the time of being brain dead, according to the medical doctors, to now. And I believe we progressed rapidly over the first 4 to 5 months, but by 4 months, and yeah, he was present. And then beyond that, he keeps getting stronger and stronger. And there I use the regular homeopathics, the acute care, the constitutional, meditative proving remedies, color remedies were really great, and gemstone remedies. They really were wonderful. Prayer remedies, our illumination remedies were used. The Qigong sounds, the prayer remedies, the whale song we used trust. So we had a whole gamut going over time.
How wonderful.
Yeah, it was really
It-
amazing, amazing. And so now I get, some photographs. Recent one was of a birthday with the grandkids, much more present there, smiling. It's unbelievable.
It's a
Yeah,
miracle. It's an
it was a miracle. And I felt divinely guided. I really did. I just felt also I could understand the child that was crying out on the soul level to not understanding what happened, but also at the same time trying to find the way up to the surface. Almost I can hear that voice. Um, so yeah, and I think the other thing that I have found that over time I discovered was, and I think that many practitioners probably have it, but don't know it because I didn't know it fully. But when somebody speaks, I can hear the change within the body of the whole body of the vital force just through the voice.
through the voice.
So I started really tuning in to actually the sound of their voice.
That's right. I used to work on the telephone before I worked online, and I could hear, I knew from the vitality in their voice how they were, if they were better or they were worse, or yeah, the voice is a tremendous tool. If you, it's the whole thing is about listening, listening to the sounds, listening to the vital force, pain. It's such a deep focus to know what's needed now, especially in the acute situation, the emergency situation, but also just listening to the rhythm and listening to the cadence and following with your heart and not just your mind. Because yes, the illumination remedies are stunning. They really are beautiful remedies, and we're going to be doing a podcast with the whole class at some point soon, because these remedies were, they were given to us to work with. And Jan has developed the whale songs of the sperm whale and the blue whale, and she loves working with these great creatures. And they're extraordinary remedies. They come from some place beyond what I have ever experienced with conventional homeopathic remedies. You, this case took everything you had, every fiber of your being was focused on getting this right. And I know you've done it with other things. I know you've done it with vaccines as well.
Mhm.
Tuning in and saying what's needed now, what's happening now, and what is needed now. And Jan has developed some extraordinary protocols, which he will be teaching. That's something I do want to share. Is Jan's going to be teaching a class. I asked her to model herself how she saw a case, because it goes way beyond what we've been taught at the fundamental level of our education. And it's something, if you really are a sensitive soul and you like working with homeopathic remedies or energy medicine, Jan has the capability of teaching you how to focus in on these different levels of consciousness and coming up with solutions that are viable and that work. So she's going to be teaching a class, and it'll be up on the website, hopefully by the end of July, but certainly in the fall. It's something I really feel I want to learn, even though I've retired from clinical practice. It's the optic, it's that contact with the soul and how you listen, how you embrace that. And it is a form of embrace. It's a form of, you have to open yourself to be able to receive what is being given by that other soul. Yeah. And it's quite a gift that either you brought in from a past life or you cultivated in this life, or a little bit of both. But it's
Yeah.
Jan is unique. And I've met many, many homeopaths worldwide. I've met some of probably the considered the 5 best homeopaths in the world, but I've never met anybody like Jan, ever. And I know I'm not here to embarrass you, but I do need to say, we all learn from one another. It's part of what we do in homeopathy. We share remedies, we share cases. We love talking shop back and forth, and we can do it for hours. When I was in England, the homeopaths used to meet in the pub like every Wednesday night, and we'd all be, kicking the cabbage is what I call it, just talking shop. I had a case I gave this remedy, and we'd have our beer and we'd talk shop, and I loved it. And
Yeah.
but Jan's, your work is different. Your work is what I call visionary thinking. It's the best of the left brain and the best of the right brain. You're trained as a scientist and you bring that in. And one of the things you didn't mention about this case is that sometimes they were giving too much medication, and you could advise them, this is too much. You did that,
Yes,
didn't you?
I did. Yes, I was able to, right, assess that with my other background,
Yeah.
and also based upon his weight and other things, the dosing. And I'm glad I was able to do that. Uh, the family was courageous enough to relay that, and the doctors actually did listen, and they realized, and they
You have a
backed down the
PhD.
dosing.
You have a PhD in pharmacology, and that's a huge amount of credibility that they might not have paid attention to if you were a simple practitioner. I mean, I've had doctors call me and ask me, what did you do to this? What did you do? What did you give to this person who had Graves' disease for the past 18 years? I said, well, I gave a remedy that was compatible with their constitution, with their cell. Well, what does that mean? I mean,
Yeah,
doctors are not trained like we are to go really deep. Their work is much more on the surface of physicality, and it's not to say that it's bad, it's just different.
yeah.
I've had the worst question is like, hello, this is Dr. So and so. What did you do? What did you do to Mrs. So and so that's cleared up this? And you try to explain it in the best way you can, but you speak that language of science, and it does give you a tremendous amount of credibility in their world, and a willingness on their part to listen to who you are. And don't ever underestimate that long, expensive training that you did. What a valuable tool.
Yeah, it has become, especially I think with the cases that are coming to me, but also I think the collective of what's happening for so many people. There's so many things are so complex, and
Yes,
there's so much in the mix that we do have to start looking at things from so many angles.
yes, that's
Yeah,
absolutely right. I realized about 10 years ago, maybe longer, that I needed to understand environmental challenges. I was trained like you in a classical way in Britain, and we didn't look at the environment. We did not look at toxicity. We did not look at pollution. We did not look at radiation, which
Yeah.
I've
EMF,
a lot of
right.
radiation, a lot. I mean, I found
Yeah.
myself saying, "Where have you been?" So you have these symptoms. Where have you been? Or where do you live? Or where
Yeah.
did you grow? One case, I remember saying, "Where did you grow up?" They grew up, this woman grew up next to a nuclear power plant. Oh, well, hello. I mean, and that could explain 20 years on why she wound up with Hashimoto's and cancer. You know,
Yes.
I never was, we were not trained in that. And we have to look now because environmental illnesses are more and more common, more and more common. And food
They
allergies,
are.
food susceptibilities. It's
Yes. I started tracking recently in the last couple of years, and you can attest for that. So there's a cluster of myself and others that had for a while these upticks in dental aggravations.
dental
And
aggravations.
these calls would start coming to me all at the same time. It was very interesting. And so collaborating with you and also just looking at everything and trying remedies, uh, come up with formulas. But then I started really looking, what are we looking at here? These are all landing at the same time, particularly like in the lower molars, all at the same time. I would look at the moon cycle. I started going way out. And then I started noticing, okay, what's happening in the environment with the solar flares? Are
Abs-
all these people highly sensitive? Just weird anomalies. Again, it's just my wondering of whatever guides me to look. But it was time and time again. So I thought, what is happening? And so then when I tuned in and also got confirmation and things in collaboration and sharing, yes, there's an element with solar flares and other things happening. Okay, this changes the remedy. Let's bring it, or changes the formula. We can now bring in these things if we understand this, or if we think it's maybe that direction. Do the formula, and it's health, and it works. It's like, okay,
yes, it
different
works.
confirmation, but again, where this comes, that's but things like that are just things that we wouldn't think of, you know.
I believe that we're really guided by the great angels of homeopathy and healing. I really do. And sometimes we've lost a lot of good homeopaths over the past 5 years. A lot of really outstanding homeopaths worldwide, from Misha Nolan and Robin Murphy, and just some really great people. And sometimes I just say a prayer, please help me understand,
Yes,
help me see
absolutely.
what needs to be healed here, because first of all, people are not used to the depth to which we go. And when you ask, how are you? They say, fine. And I had to train my clients to say, I said, no, I really mean, how are you? Please don't say fine. Tell me what's going on. We're not trained to share at the depths of especially the emotional depth of anger or rage or acute
Yeah.
grief or fear or anxiety. We're not we're not trained to hand that over to somebody who says, hi, how are you today? But yes, we're expanding our work,
Yes.
and I do think people are really resonant with what's going on, and more people are coming to homeopathy because we have good answers, and we don't create problems. We don't. I don't
Yeah.
put that.
I think I got more solid in the, I mean, I always knew that homeopathy could can and could stand on its own. It can work integratively with other holistic modalities, and also it could work integratively with allopathy.
Yes, you
But
found that
after
out.
I got these other cases over the last, 3 to 4 years, I really can see how we can, with the allopathy, some of those, some of the thinking may not be so, like the vital force will still sort out. And then
Yeah.
we do have to, do other stuff too, later down the line and detox, but we can actually almost enhance something so that a person can receive less medication.
Yes.
Um, and also just enhance more. While that's going on, we bring in the big homeopathy and then things just start to take off. But before it was, had to be tiptoeing a little bit, it seemed like or felt like, or there was, not as much optimism to feel that there could be success.
Oh, I
That's
see
what it
great
felt
success.
like a little bit. And so, but I found that through this and getting pushed to the extreme that no, 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 we can do this, you know?
But you've taught me that. You've taught me that. And I see it in my own family here, how we can take medication and potentize it and give it back. And you add the constitutional remedies and the remedies that detoxify really toxic allopathic medication. I've seen miracles with the way you treat. And I have to say, I love you and I love what you do. And you're just getting better and better as you mature and get more and more confidence in what you
Uh,
know. What, I mean, a case like we're talking about here, this terrible emergency case, God bless him, but God bless you too. You took huge risks and it paid. Your consciousness was clear, your prescribing was clear, and he's alive and well thanks to you today. And it's taught all of us who know you, who work with you, in class with you, what's possible in the realm of healing. There was a lot of prayer. There were a lot of us praying for him, a lot.
yeah,
There was a whole circle of maybe over 100 people praying for him, and plus his church, his congregation, which I also
yeah,
think is in itself a medicine. And his wife, God bless her, many years ago, she said to me, "Do you think you can make a remedy out of prayer?"
right.
Remember, that was the beginning of all of this esoteric
Right,
work. And I said,
yeah.
I don't know. Why don't you try? And she did. She made a remedy. She prayed over the water. She took the water and she turned it into a remedy. And I was taking that remedy. I think I took it for over 8 years every day while I worked. Beautiful
Oh,
remedy.
yeah,
I've
that was
said
a
to her,
niche formula too,
and
for
she
sure.
opened the realm of possibility of that esoteric thoughts like trust, like
Yeah,
reconciliation, like so many, like the qigong sounds that you developed for the organs, the
yeah,
whale songs, the Madonna,
yeah,
even the astrological remedies that we developed, and now even a remedy made from AI, source AI, not from a machine, but from consciousness. I mean, that never would have happened if she hadn't said, "Do you think you can make a remedy out of prayer?" And
right.
Judy, God bless you and thank you for that.
Yeah, bless you.
We've
Yeah.
all grown with this work, and you've taken it to a really refined and dignified level. I
Uh,
just love seeing your results, and I love the work you do. And I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. As I said, the power of the witness
Mm.
mentor, and also I think the fact that you already, you get it, that so much and anything is possible, you know.
Anything's possible. And if you can hold that, if you
Yeah,
can hold that,
yeah,
I just want to say thank you. I wish you great luck, and I hope everybody will look at this and sign up for your class and get in touch with you. You have a lot to learn from Jan. She is a gifted, humble practitioner and a very, very competent teacher. And I'm just glad I know you. I'm glad you're on the planet. I'm glad you're working. And it's just been a delight. I've known you for what, 11, 12 years now. And I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. And I love you.
Oh, thank you, Ambika. I love you too. And I'm so honored. And thank you for doing you being here, everything you've done and doing and going to do. But thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to thank our guests today who've shared their experience, who have enhanced my life by developing skill sets and a vision of the world that is really expanded and I think beautiful. So thank you until the next podcast of Unscheduled Flights. Again, I'm your host, Ambika Waters, wishing you all the best.